Focus on yourself and watch everything fall into place. If you want your life to change, stop waiting for people to treat you better, stop hoping circumstances will magically shift, and stop expecting the world to hand you clarity. The truth is simple. Everything you're searching for begins the moment you turn inward. Your healing, your confidence, your peace, your transformation. None of it starts out there. It starts with you. And the moment you finally choose to focus on yourself, not in a selfish way but in a self-respecting way, life starts rearranging itself around that decision. People who once drained you fade out. Opportunities you couldn't access suddenly open. And the chaos that once overwhelmed you begins to fall into place, piece by piece. Because when you rise, your entire world rises with you. This video will show you why focusing on yourself isn't just a mindset. It's the turning point where everything changes. Let's begin. Your energy is your greatest currency. Your energy is the foundation of your entire life. Your thoughts, your choices, your relationships, your destiny. Everything you do is fueled by the energy you carry within you. And yet, most people don't even realize how constantly they're giving their energy away to the wrong things and the wrong people. They wonder why they feel drained, unfocused, confused, or stuck. They wonder why they feel invisible, unappreciated, unheard. But the truth is simple: when your energy is scattered, your life becomes scattered. When your energy is consumed by things that don't grow you, don't value you, or don't align with you, your entire life becomes a reflection of that imbalance. That's why focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is strategic. It is the difference between living a life you control and living a life controlled by everything around you. There comes a moment when you finally understand that your energy is your greatest currency. It is worth more than your time, more than your attention, more than your effort, because where your energy goes, your life follows. And when you begin to reclaim it, everything begins to fall back into place with surprising clarity. Think about how much of your energy you've unintentionally spent trying to please people who never truly saw you. Think about how much of it you've wasted worrying about opinions that didn't even matter, replaying conversations that would never change, holding on to people who were never holding on to you. You've poured your energy into trying to fix situations, fix relationships, fix environments that were not your responsibility to fix. And somewhere along the way, you forgot that your energy was supposed to be building you, not breaking you. The moment you decide to redirect that energy inward, everything shifts. Suddenly, your mind becomes sharper, your boundaries become clearer, your self-respect grows stronger. You start walking differently, speaking differently, choosing differently, not because you're trying to be someone else, but because you're finally returning to yourself. You begin to see the truth. Life is not about trying to control the outside world. It's about mastering your inner world. When you strengthen what's inside, the world outside can't help but adjust. Your energy is magnetic. When you are drained, desperate, or emotionally scattered, you attract chaos. But when you are centered, grounded, and focused, you attract alignment. Opportunities start to appear. The right people begin to notice you. The wrong people lose access to you. Your standards rise. Your decisions improve. Your life elevates before your eyes, not because something magical happened, but because you stopped leaking energy and started directing it with intention. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean shutting people out. It means learning to give from a place of overflow rather than emptiness. It means understanding that you can't pour into others while you're running on fumes. When your energy is strong, you become more loving, more patient, more creative, more powerful. But when your energy is depleted, everything becomes harder. Your relationships, your goals, your emotional stability, your confidence. Protecting your energy is not a luxury. It is a necessity. One of the biggest transformations you'll ever experience is the moment you realize that not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone deserves your time, your kindness, your presence, or your emotional investment. You must learn to understand the difference between people who refill your energy and people who drain it. Some people bring peace. Some bring chaos. Some bring clarity. Some bring confusion. And the moment you start paying attention to how people make you feel, you begin to reclaim your power. You start choosing where your energy goes more wisely. You start choosing who gets to be close to you more carefully. You start prioritizing your mental and emotional space like it's sacred. Because it is. And this is when life begins to unfold in your favor. When you focus on yourself, you elevate your vibration, you elevate your thinking, you elevate your standards, you elevate the expectations you have for your friendships, your relationships, your career, your purpose. You stop settling for less because you finally understand your worth. And when your worth is clear internally, your world upgrades externally. This is why focusing on yourself opens doors that once seemed impossible. It's why opportunities flow to you more easily. It's why people who never saw your value suddenly take notice. It's why life begins to feel lighter, clearer, and more aligned. Because when your energy is strong, grounded, and directed, the universe responds. It rearranges things around you to match your new frequency. But the moment you allow distractions, drama, and low vibration environments back into your life, everything becomes unstable again. That's why protecting your energy is not a one-time act. It is a lifestyle. It is a promise you make to yourself every single day. I will not betray myself for the comfort of others. I will not sacrifice my peace for temporary approval. I will not waste my energy on anything that doesn't grow me. When you commit to that, you become unstoppable. Your energy becomes a force that shapes your reality. Your presence becomes stronger. Your intuition becomes sharper. Your confidence becomes unshakable. And the best part, you stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop forcing. Because you understand that the things meant for you are drawn to the version of you who knows how to protect her energy, not the version of you who gives it away freely. Focus on yourself. Protect your energy. Build your inner world. And watch how every piece of your outer life falls beautifully, effortlessly, and undeniably into place. Self-focus creates alignment, not isolation. There comes a point in your life when the noise becomes too loud, the world feels too overwhelming, and the expectations of others start pulling you in directions that do not belong to you. And in that moment, you realize something important. You have been living for everything except yourself. You've been stretching your energy thin, trying to keep people happy, trying to maintain connections that drain you, trying to belong to spaces that don't respect your truth. But focusing on yourself is not abandonment. It is not selfishness. It is not isolation. It is the act of returning home, to your own heart, your own path, your own purpose. It is the moment you choose to stop living as a supporting character in someone else's story and begin living as the main character in your own. When you start focusing on yourself, the world interprets it in different ways. Some may say you've changed. Some may call you distant. Some may assume you're cold or uninterested. But the truth is, you're not pulling away from the world. You're pulling away from the things that were never aligned with who you are in the first place. Self-focus is the beginning of alignment. It is the moment you choose to stop forcing connections and start recognizing which ones were never meant to last. It is the moment you choose clarity over chaos, peace over pressure, and authenticity over approval. Society has conditioned people to feel guilty for prioritizing themselves, as if choosing your own growth is a betrayal to others. But what most people never understand is that the moment you lose yourself trying to keep everyone else comfortable, your entire life begins to crumble. You lose your identity. You lose your spark. You lose the parts of you that make you unique, powerful, magnetic. Self-focus is not running away from the world. It is running back to your purpose. Because when you live disconnected from yourself, you live disconnected from everything meaningful. But when you choose to focus inward, you begin to realign with who you were always meant to be. Alignment happens quietly. It begins with small, private decisions. Decisions like choosing peace instead of engaging in arguments that drain you. Choosing silence instead of trying to convince people who never wanted to understand you. Choosing boundaries instead of allowing people to take advantage of your kindness. Choosing growth over comfort, even when comfort feels familiar. These choices may look small, but each one is a powerful statement. My life is shifting. My priorities are changing. I am becoming aligned with myself. And when you choose these things consistently, your life starts reorganizing itself. People who once required all your energy suddenly fade into the background. Environments that once felt comfortable start feeling suffocating. Conversations that once entertained you start feeling empty. That's not loneliness. That's alignment. That's your spirit trying to guide you toward what actually nourishes you. It's your inner world saying, it's time to elevate. It's time to evolve. It's time to become who you're meant to be. The truth is, alignment often begins with separation. You may find yourself drifting away from people you once loved deeply, and that's okay. Growth doesn't require you to dislike anyone. It simply requires you to choose what feeds your soul over what keeps you stagnant. When you focus on yourself, you naturally stop fitting into places that were built around your old self. You stop participating in cycles that no longer match your vibration. You stop tolerating behaviors that you once justified. You stop accepting breadcrumbs of attention from people who should have valued you. Because when you become aligned within, your external world must follow. What most people fear is the quiet that comes with this shift, the silence, the space, the pause. But that space is divine. That pause is powerful. It's the space where you rediscover your identity, your dreams, your voice, your strength. The silence is not empty. It's filled with answers that you could never hear when your life was full of noise. And when you finally start listening to yourself, everything becomes clearer. You begin to see what drains you, what fulfills you, what inspires you, what slows you down, what you're meant to pursue, and what you must leave behind. This clarity is alignment. This clarity is self-focus. This clarity is the beginning of your transformation. And something beautiful happens when you step into alignment. The right people start finding you. The right opportunities start opening for you. The right decisions start becoming easier. You no longer feel the need to force anything, fake anything, or chase anything. Your life begins to operate from a space of flow instead of struggle. Because when you are aligned, you attract what matches your frequency, not what drains it. You start connecting with people who understand your boundaries, who respect your growth, who support your vision. You start entering rooms that match your ambition. You start creating a life that feels like it belongs to you. Self-focus also teaches you a powerful truth. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into the next chapter of your life. Some people were only meant to be lessons. Some were meant to be temporary anchors. Some were meant to be mirrors, showing you who you no longer want to be. And that's okay. Letting go is not losing. It is clearing space. It is preparing your life for what aligns with your next level. It is making room for the blessings that have been waiting to enter your world. Because the universe cannot deliver new things into hands that are still holding on to old ones. Alignment feels like peace. It feels like relief. It feels like breathing again after years of suffocating under expectations that were never yours. When you focus on yourself, you reclaim your voice. You reclaim your identity. You reclaim your worth. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop abandoning yourself to maintain connections that were never meant to last. And as you rise, everything that belongs to you rises with you. So no, self-focus is not isolation, it's liberation. It is you stepping into your truth, your power, your purpose. It's you choosing yourself in a world that constantly demands you to choose everything else. And when you make that choice, when you commit to it with your whole heart, life doesn't fall apart. It finally falls into place. When you grow, your life grows with you. Growth is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens because of you. It is a deliberate act, a conscious decision, a daily choice to rise above the version of yourself that kept you small, silent, or unsure. And the moment you begin to grow, everything in your life begins to shift. Your relationships shift, your environment shifts, your mindset shifts, your standards shift. Your entire reality reorganizes itself around the new you. Because your external world can only rise to the level of your internal world. When you grow, your life has no choice but to grow with you. Most people wait for life to change first. They wait for opportunities to appear, for people to treat them better, for circumstances to become easier. They wait for motivation, for clarity, for timing to feel perfect before they take the first step. But life doesn't work that way. Transformation begins within. The moment you shift your mindset, your habits, your energy, and your identity, the world around you begins to rearrange itself in response. This is why focusing on your personal growth is not optional. It is essential. When you rise internally, your entire external world follows. The life you live right now is a reflection of who you've been. Your thoughts created your patterns. Your patterns created your habits. Your habits created your results. And your results created your reality. If you want your life to change, you cannot start with the outside. You must start with the inside. The moment you begin to heal your wounds, strengthen your confidence, upgrade your mindset, build discipline, and honor your worth, you start sending a different signal to the world. You start operating on a higher frequency. And the universe responds to that frequency every single time. Growth is uncomfortable. It requires you to confront the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. It asks you to leave mindsets that once protected you. It demands that you let go of people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. It requires discipline on days you feel unmotivated, courage on days you feel afraid, and faith on days when the path feels invisible. But even though growth is difficult, staying the same is far more painful. Staying small, staying unseen, staying unfulfilled. That is the real suffering. Growth may challenge you, but it liberates you. It frees you from cycles that drained you and identities that no longer reflect who you are becoming. When you grow, you start seeing life differently. You begin to recognize that not everyone deserves access to you. Not every environment deserves your energy. Not every opportunity aligns with your purpose. You stop chasing validation and start seeking alignment. You stop craving attention and start craving peace. You stop giving your time to people who only show up when they need something. You start protecting your emotional space like it is sacred. Because it is. And the more you grow, the more you realize that life isn't happening to you. Life is responding to you. People often fear that if they grow, they will outgrow people they care about. And sometimes, that's exactly what happens. But outgrowing someone is not a betrayal. It is a natural consequence of evolution. Some people were meant to walk with you through certain chapters, not your entire story. And when your growth threatens their comfort, they will try to hold you back, not out of hatred, but out of fear. Fear that they will lose you. Fear that they will have to grow too. Fear that they can no longer control or predict the version of you you're becoming. But you cannot shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You cannot dim your light to keep others from feeling insecure. You cannot lower your standards to maintain relationships built on your old self. Growth requires courage. It requires sacrifice. It requires letting go of the familiar to make room for what is meant for you. Your life begins to expand the moment you expand internally. When you become more disciplined, you start attracting opportunities that match your work ethic. When you build confidence, you attract people who respect your strength instead of preying on your insecurities. When you heal emotionally, you attract relationships that feel safe instead of chaotic. When you strengthen your boundaries, you protect your time from people who once drained you. Growth is reflected in every corner of your life because your life is always mirroring who you are on the inside. And something beautiful happens when you commit to growth. You begin to operate from self-worth instead of self-doubt. Your decisions become clearer. Your goals become bolder. Your standards rise higher. You begin to trust yourself in ways you never have before. You stop second-guessing your value. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop accepting less than what you deserve. You start choosing your future over your fears. You start choosing your potential over your comfort zone. You start choosing yourself. Growth rewrites your identity. It shifts you from "I hope things work out" to "I know I will make things work out." It shifts you from "why isn't life changing" to "what do I need to change within myself." It shifts you from "I don't know if I can" to "I will find a way." That shift is everything. When you believe differently, you act differently. When you act differently, you create different results. And those results build a different life. People will notice your growth long before you do. They will notice the new boundaries, the new confidence, the new energy. Some will admire it. Others will feel threatened by it. But none of that matters. What matters is the relationship you build with yourself. Because once you deepen that relationship, everything else becomes a reflection of that depth. Your opportunities grow. Your relationships grow. Your mindset grows. Your life grows. You were never meant to stay the same. You were meant to evolve. You were meant to stretch. You were meant to rise. And every time you choose growth, even when it scares you, you choose the highest version of yourself. The version who is capable, confident, grounded, intuitive, powerful, and aligned. The version who does not wait for life to fall into place, but who grows into the person capable of making it happen. So grow. Grow boldly. Grow fearlessly. Grow intentionally. And watch how your entire life expands in ways you once thought were impossible. Because when you grow, your life has no choice. It grows with you. Your silence speaks the loudest. There comes a moment in your life when you finally understand that not every situation deserves your reaction. Not every comment deserves your explanation, and not every person deserves access to your emotional world. And what's even more powerful than your words is your silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not avoidance. Silence is not surrender. Silence is strength wrapped in elegance. It is the quiet declaration that you no longer need to prove, convince, persuade, or justify yourself to anyone. Your silence is the moment you decide that your peace means more than winning an argument, more than being understood, more than being right. It is the moment you choose elevation over involvement. When you stop reacting, everything begins to change. Suddenly, the things that once triggered you lose their power. The people who once fed off your emotional responses lose their control. The environments that once consumed your energy lose their access. Your silence becomes your shield, your protection, your boundary. And the more you embrace it, the more you realize that silence, when used with intention, speaks louder than any words ever could. In a world where everyone is loud, impulsive, and constantly seeking attention, silence becomes magnetic. It becomes rare. It becomes powerful. When you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, you take back your power. When you stop defending your boundaries to people who never respected them in the first place, you reclaim your worth. When you stop arguing with people who thrive on conflict, you reclaim your peace. Your silence becomes a message that cannot be twisted, misinterpreted, or used against you. Because silence leaves no room for manipulation. People who rely on your reactions will always interpret your silence as anger, arrogance, or guilt. But your silence isn't about them. It's about you. It's about your growth. It's about your healing. It's about your decision to no longer participate in conversations that drain you, relationships that confuse you, or environments that misalign with your spirit. You are not silent because you have nothing to say. You are silent because you have finally learned that the things you want to say no longer deserve your energy. There is a version of you who used to respond to everything. You used to defend your intentions. You used to correct every misunderstanding. You used to chase closure. You used to justify your boundaries. You used to fight for people who wouldn't even show up for you. But growth changes you. Healing changes you. Awareness changes you. And now you choose your silence, not as a weapon, but as a form of wisdom. You no longer chase closure because you understand that closure is something you give yourself, not something you beg from others. You no longer waste your breath trying to prove your worth because your value exists whether others see it or not. You no longer participate in drama because drama cannot survive without your involvement. Your silence is a mirror. It reflects people back to themselves. It shows them their own behavior. It exposes their intentions. It reveals their character. Because when you stop engaging, you allow people to reveal who they truly are without your influence. And that truth is powerful. Some people crumble when they lose access to your emotional reactions. Some people panic when they realize they can no longer manipulate you. Some people become angry when they realize they cannot control you. But your silence is not about punishing them. It's about protecting you. Silence also strengthens your intuition. In the quiet, you can finally hear your own voice. You can finally feel what your spirit has been trying to tell you. You can finally see the situations you stayed in for too long, the people you gave too many chances to, the boundaries you should have set earlier. Silence brings clarity. It reveals the truth behind the noise. It gives you the space to think, to breathe, to heal, to realign. And with that clarity comes the power to make decisions that serve your future, not your fears. There is a peace that comes with refusing to engage in chaos. A peace that comes with knowing you don't have to respond to everything that bothers you. A peace that comes with understanding that your value doesn't decrease when you choose not to explain yourself. A peace that comes with choosing yourself over the need to be right. When you choose silence, you choose peace, and there is nothing more powerful than a person who protects their peace at all costs. Your silence is also a sign of emotional maturity. It shows that you no longer operate from impulse but from intention. You no longer react from insecurity but from self-respect. You no longer argue from ego but from wisdom. You no longer chase validation because you have finally validated yourself. Instead of yelling, you observe. Instead of reacting, you reflect. Instead of defending, you detach. That is emotional evolution. That is spiritual elevation. That is growth. And here is a truth many people never understand: silence attracts what noise cannot. When you are silent, you become mysterious. You become intriguing. You become untouchable. The world pays attention to people who do not crave attention. The world respects the presence of those who carry themselves with quiet confidence. Silence is the language of self-respect. It says, I know my worth, and I refuse to argue about it. It says, I do not need to shout to be heard. It says, I choose peace over pettiness. It says, I am no longer available for anything that costs me my sanity. Your silence is your power. Your silence is your boundary. Your silence is your protection. Your silence is your elevation. And when you learn how to use your silence wisely, your entire life transforms. You stop getting dragged into unnecessary battles. You stop losing energy over temporary people. You stop fighting to be seen, because you finally understand that the loudest statements you will ever make require no words at all. Your silence speaks, and it speaks volumes. What's meant for you shows up when you're ready, not when you're waiting. There is a quiet truth about life that most people don't understand until they've lived through enough disappointment, enough confusion, enough heartbreak, and enough unexpected detours. What is meant for you does not arrive on your timeline. It arrives on your level. Life does not respond to impatience. It does not reward desperation. It does not move faster just because you want something so badly your heart aches for it. Life responds to readiness. It responds to alignment. It responds to the version of you who has grown enough, healed enough, strengthened enough, and evolved enough to hold the blessings you've been asking for. Because wanting something and being ready for it are two completely different realities. There are things you prayed for months, maybe years ago, that didn't show up when you expected. At the time, it felt unfair. It felt like life was ignoring you. It felt like the universe was taking too long. But if you look back now, you can see the truth. You weren't ready then. You didn't have the boundaries you have now. You didn't have the clarity you have now. You didn't have the emotional maturity, the discipline, the strength, or the self-worth you've built today. If the things you wanted had shown up earlier, you might have sabotaged them, settled within them, or lost them. Not because you weren't deserving, but because you weren't prepared. Blessings require preparation, and life will never deliver what you cannot yet sustain. When you stop waiting anxiously and start growing intentionally, everything changes. Waiting comes from fear. Growing comes from faith. Waiting says, I hope something changes. Growing says, I am changing. Waiting keeps you stuck. Growing moves you forward. Waiting drains your energy. Growing expands it. That is why the moment you shift your focus from when will it come to who am I becoming, life begins to open in ways you never imagined. Because blessings gravitate toward the version of you that can protect them, honor them, and rise with them. Every closed door in your past was not rejection. It was redirection, protection, delay with purpose. The path was being prepared. You were being prepared, but in the moment, you couldn't see it. All you could feel was the absence of what you wanted. But the truth is, absence is not always punishment. Sometimes, absence is preparation. Sometimes, life withholds things because it knows you deserve better than what you're currently reaching for. Sometimes, it doesn't let you settle. It doesn't let you stay small. It doesn't let you sleep on your potential. Life sees the future version of you, the one you're still growing into, and waits until you meet her before delivering her blessings. And here's the thing most people don't realize: readiness is not about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about having the emotional space to receive instead of cling. It's about having the clarity to choose instead of chase. It's about having the confidence to walk away from what's not meant for you without feeling afraid of losing everything. It's about having the self-worth to believe that what's meant for you will not pass you by. Life doesn't give blessings to people who are perfect. It gives blessings to people who are prepared. When you focus on your growth, your entire energy shifts. You stop begging for love and start becoming love. You stop chasing opportunities and start attracting them. You stop forcing connections and start receiving the ones that match your frequency. You stop needing validation because you know your worth in silence. You stop holding on to people who drain you because you finally understand the difference between loneliness and peace. Growth gives you a new perspective, and with that perspective, your life reorganizes itself. You've probably noticed how certain people, opportunities, and situations show up in your life the moment you finally let go of what was holding you back. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. That is the universe saying, I was waiting for you to release what was never meant to stay. Letting go is not losing. It is clearing space for what matches your next level. It is trusting that the things meant for you do not require begging, chasing, or sacrificing your self-respect. They flow. They feel natural. They come with peace, not pressure, and they stay because they belong. The real magic happens when you shift from waiting for life to happen to actively preparing for what you desire. When you build the habits that match the future you want. When you build the boundaries that protect your peace. When you nurture the confidence that attracts the right connections. When you create the mental and emotional space for new blessings to land. Because readiness is not a feeling, it is a lifestyle. And when you truly become ready, life shows up fast. Opportunities that once felt years away will appear suddenly. Relationships that once felt impossible will enter effortlessly. Doors that were once closed will open without resistance. Things that once stressed you will no longer affect you. Because you're no longer the version of yourself who doubted, waited, hoped, or begged. You're the version who grew. You're the version who aligned. You're the version who understood that timing is not about the calendar, it's about your level of self-evolution. What's meant for you is not running away from you. It's waiting for the strongest, clearest, most aligned version of you. The version who can hold it. The version who can nurture it. The version who can rise with it. And when you meet that version, when your inner world matches the life you desire, everything falls into place with a sense of ease that feels almost unreal. But it isn't unreal, it's alignment. So stop waiting, start preparing, start growing, start aligning. Because the moment you become ready, the things meant for you will arrive, effortlessly, naturally, undeniably. And you will look back and understand the delay was never a denial. It was preparation. Life was waiting for you to become the person capable of receiving everything you once prayed for.